Talking fuel subsidy removal, the presidential candidate of Nigeria's opposition Labour Party has thrown his weight behind the removal of fuel subsidy in the country. The candidate, Peter Obi, while speaking to journalists in Abuja, blamed the agitation witnessed by Labour over the removal to government's inability to effectively communicate with citizens. He says there is a need to carry every citizen along and show them the benefits that will be obtained following the decision by government.
I believe it should be removed with conditions, and that condition has to be applied. If I was involved, I would have shown in empirical statistical data how much we are going to save, where we are going to apply it, the gains for the people, so they can, just like I said all throughout my campaign, that I'm going to govern the people by being open, showing them empirically verifiable facts on how the country can be better, and everybody can follow it. That's what I would have done. Yeah. There's things you need to do, there's things you need to show. Even when Jonathan was removed it, that was when they came out with Shopee, all sorts of things. Yes.
To discuss this, we are joined by two gentlemen. Achike Chude is a public affairs analyst and Justice Ojienoh, legal practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us on NC Continental Prime.
Thank you.
I'm going to begin with you, Achike. After much speculation, when the Nigeria Labour Congress said they were going to go on strike on Wednesday, there are people who felt that they would not eventually go on strike. And on Monday, we saw that the Nigeria Labour Union had shelved their planned strike. So with this talk, what should be the fate of average Nigerians regarding the hike in fuel price?
I don't think that the position of takes care of the problems of Nigerians, because Nigerians have distances, and of course we know the implication of that in terms of what happens to the individual economies. And then this is going to hit hard because obviously it's going to lead to more suffering and misery for Nigerians. The prices of basic commodities and foodstuff would go up, and the Nigerians will not be able to work, in a good condition, because like I said, they are trekking long distances. That has implications for their health. So I would say that the NLC position takes care, or seeks to take care of certain demands by their workers, but not the Nigerian people. So of course this agreement shows the primary responsibility of the NLC, which has always been to their workers. They've never hidden that. So I guess that Nigerians also have to look for ways to also magical palliatives would see the light of day. But obviously that is not going to be possible. So when the government tells you about palliatives, they are not going to have any palliative, because the government itself says that they don't have money to do anything. That is even the reason why the subsidy was removed in the first place. So where are they going to get the money for palliatives for 133 million Nigerians that are said to be living in multidimensional poverty? So Nigerians are left on their own, and I think that is going to be very dangerous in the long run. Okay, because you can't expect that you beat a child and stop the child from crying.
Still looking at this so-called palliatives, because Nigerians are facing the brunt of it, I want to bring in Justice into this conversation. I hope he's with us. And one of the requests made by the Workers' Union is that the federal government should increase the minimum wage from 30,000 to 200,000. Some say it might not be feasible, but we've not heard what the government is doing to try to, mitigate the effect, the harsh conditions of the fuel subsidy removal. So for you, how feasible will it be, and what other palliatives can the government give the people? Justice, can you hear me? All right, while we're still trying to get Justice, Achike, it's back to you on this certain conditions, because you talked about the fact that this palliatives will not be possible for the government. Let's look at increase of the minimum wage. Will that be feasible?
Well, I don't know. Of course, you know that that also has to be dependent on the resources that are available. And obviously, I think one thing that a lot of Nigerians are missing is how Nigerians, all the time will be called upon to make very, to make all manners of sacrifices, of deprivation that leads to deprivation, while the politicians continue to live lifestyles of ostentation, and so that in itself does not make sense. There's so much being paid in a country that is racked by poverty. The poverty capital of the world a few years ago. And then, you have your lawmakers and political office holders among the most, those who earn the highest in any part of the world. It's criminality of a different kind, legalized criminality. So you can't keep on telling the people to make sacrifice when you're not willing to, lift a finger to do the same. So I think the cost of governance is something, if anything, that has to come down drastically. Salaries or emoluments of public office holders should go down by as much as 60%, so that we're able to save enough money and to use this money for some social, infrastructural, programs, and to help the people out of the problems they have. With regards to the minimum wage, of course, it will keep on driving because you're not addressing the fundamental issues. The problem of the Nigerian worker, and that is why, for instance, the current minimum wage of 30,000 naira is today lower than the minimum wage of 80,000 naira, that we had some years back, because inflation has also done what inflation usually do, and that is to erode the power, of the currency. And so even if you make it 200,000 naira, it's okay. But again, if the inflationary trend continues to move upwards, then you're going to get very little value for money for the 200,000 naira that you're going to pay. Of course, I don't see the government even agreeing to 200 or even 100,000 in the very first place.
All right, we'll definitely continue this.
So what you're going to have with the level of it. Okay.
We will continue this conversation on this fuel subsidy removal because Nigerians still have lots of discussions and resentment concerning the removal of fuel subsidy. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, all right, so I was just told that we will continue with that, so there will be no break. So still looking at this issue of fuel subsidy, I want your personal opinion, Achike Chude, because some people would say that, looking at the harsh conditions that it affects Nigerians and the whole controversies on if there was actually removal of subsidy in the past, do you feel that do you feel that this was the right time for the government to take that move to remove fuel subsidies?
Well, the government says that its hands, was forced by the previous administration because they failed to make budgetary provisions for subsidy payments beyond June. And so, obviously, based on that, it was always inevitable that it would happen. But then the reality is that what you have done is that survival is going to be near impossible for a lot of people. They are not going to have access to, medical, care. They are not going to have access to a lot of other things that makes life even more meaningful. Before now, life was exceedingly tough. Now it's going to get even tougher. And I don't see, I'm not seeing a situation where the people will put up with this for much longer. I see somewhere along the line, a reaction, a kind of civil unrest by the people if nothing drastic is done to address this issue, because the people now are in a survival situation and their existence is being threatened. This is not about telling people, look, try and bear the pain. This is not about, suffering. Nigerians are used to suffering, but this is about whether they will stay alive or whether they are going to die in the process. That's how bad this is.
All right, now still looking at the issue of fuel subsidy, I'm going to bring in Justice to this conversation. Sincere apologies, Achike, but I want Justice to have his own thoughts on this conversation. We'll be talking about this. On Wednesday, the NLC said that they would go on strike, but they shelved the strike action. And looking at the harsh conditions, it's no saying transportation has increased, and we've seen the ripple effect on food prices. Do you feel, first of all, that the NLC should have shelved the action? And your thoughts on the whole issue of fuel subsidy removal in Nigeria?
Okay, for me, I don't think that, I think it's premature for NLC to actually shelve the strike action. I feel that unlike the courts in this kind of scenario, NLC is the only institutional, organized body that the average common man is depending on to be able to defend them in the face of the humongous power that is wielded by the government in this situation and in a dictatorial manner. Yeah, we know that there is a necessity for it at some point. Subsidy will eventually be removed. Recall what the Minister for Finance said last year, that there is even very, very soon there will be no funding to finance any form of capital project. And we know that if that continues to be the situation, there is going to be the failure of the system at some point. Maybe we don't go the way of Greece in bankruptcy. We don't go the way of cities like Detroit in Michigan. So we know that it's a given that subsidy has to go. And all the presidential candidates too were unanimous. In fact, Mr. Peter Obi, just according to your reportage, also said that it has to go. But the way it went, and I love the way Joe Ajaero, the president of NLC, talked about it, that it is abortion before pregnancy.
Justice,
So
I definitely see where you're going to with this particular discussion. I mean, we're having divided sides on this fuel subsidy removal, and we see the presidential candidate of the Labour Party also assenting to all of this. We'll continue to have discussions on this. Thank you so much, Achike, Chude, and Justice, for joining us on NC Continental Prime and shedding so much light on this conversation.
Pleasure.